The day I got home from the hospital, my nephew kindly offered to help me sort my mail. He sorted me right out of my pension, my life security, with a single forged form. Let me tell you about the quietest robbery in history. It didn't happen in a dark alley. It happened at my own kitchen table, over a cup of tea my nephew made me. He said, "Aunt Agnes, let me handle the boring stuff." I was so tired, so frustrated with my clumsy left hand and the lingering fog in my mind from the minor stroke, I let him. I didn't know the most boring stuff was my entire financial life. For 68 years, I had been Agnes Petrova, head of archival preservation at the university library. Meticulous, patient, fiercely independent. A stroke that left me with a slight limp and a tremor in my hand did not change that. But it made me vulnerable, and Liam, my brother's boy, and his wife Chloe, saw that vulnerability as an opportunity. They descended with casseroles and concern. "We're just here to help you get back on your feet, Aunt Agnes," Chloe would say, her voice a syrupy simulacrum of warmth. Liam, with his easy charm, would fuss over my pills and rearrange my kitchen for efficiency. I felt myself being slowly, politely erased in my own home. The theft revealed itself a month later. My mortgage payment bounced. My heart hammered against my ribs as I called Liam, my voice shaking. "Liam, the bank says my pension isn't in my account." He sighed, the sound full of manufactured concern. "And Agnes, we talked about this. Remember? We moved it to a safer, joint account. The scammers these days, they target people like you. People like me? Elderly. Living alone." His words were like little ice picks. "We're just keeping it safe for you. You can just ask us for money when you need it." I was financially stranded. Marooned in the house I owned, by my own blood. The independence I had guarded for a lifetime was gone. Pride is a luxury when you're staring at a final notice from the bank. With a trembling hand, I found a decades-old pay stub from the library and dialed the number for the Union of University Employees. That is how I met Mr. Abebe. His voice on the phone was calm, a deep and steady river. "Mrs. Petrova," he said after I'd haltingly explained my situation. "This is unacceptable." There was no pity in his tone, only a quiet, formidable certainty. He took the case. He requested an immediate audit of my pension account. A week later, he called back, his voice grim. "Mrs. Petrova, the pension devolution form was notarized." My heart sank. A notary's seal made it feel official, unassailable. Then he said, "We have subpoenaed the notary's records and security footage. Would you like to see who signed your name?" He emailed me a clip. I watched, my blood running cold, as a young woman with blonde highlights, a woman I had never seen before, smiled for the camera, holding a driver's license with my name and her picture. She signed the form with a flourish. Standing just behind her, visible in the corner of the frame, was Chloe, giving a subtle, encouraging nod. It was Chloe's cousin, Mr. Abebe said. It wasn't a mistake. It was a criminal conspiracy. The second betrayal was colder and more calculated than the first. This wasn't just greed, it was a premeditated act of identity theft. With Mr. Abebe as my strategist, we began our counterattack. He taught me to play a part. Be frail, Mrs. Petrova. Be confused. Let them feel secure. When Liam next visited, I let my hand tremble more than usual. I asked him, my voice weak, to explain the safe account again. I saw the smug satisfaction in his eyes. He thought he had won. While I performed, Mr. Abebe acted. He filed a criminal complaint for identity theft and fraud. He filed a civil suit against the pension fund for their catastrophic failure to verify identity. The police, presented with the irrefutable video evidence, froze the joint account, trapping every stolen penny. Mr. Abebe then quietly reached out to a contact at the local newspaper. The story of the library granny, scammed by her own family, sparked immediate public outrage. The pressure on the authorities became immense. Liam and Chloe, facing the ruin of their reputations and felony charges, fought back with a weapon designed to destroy my soul. They came to my house uninvited, their faces hard. "Drop the charges, Aunt Agnes," Liam demanded, his charm utterly vanished. "Or what?" I asked, my voice steady despite the fear coiling in my stomach. Chloe slid a single sheet of paper across the table. It was a copy of a birth certificate for my mother, Elizaveta Petrova. But it was wrong. Horribly wrong. It listed her place of birth as a region known for its collaborationist militia during the war. A handwritten note, supposedly from my father, was attached. We must never speak of where her wealth truly came from. My God, I whispered, the breath leaving my body. Your saintly mother, Liam spat. A collaborator's daughter. The money that built this family was blood money. We'll leak it to the press. To the cultural society. We'll see how long your precious parents' memory lasts when everyone knows they were thieves and liars. The third betrayal was the most venomous. They weren't just trying to steal my future. They were trying to desecrate my past. I was horrified, adrift in a sea of their malice. But then, the librarian in me woke up. The researcher. The seeker of truth. I called Mr. Bebe. It's a forgery, I said, my voice gaining strength with every word. I know it is. We will prove it, he assured me. And we did. A quick analysis by a documents expert confirmed it. The paper was modern, the ink was modern, the typography was all wrong for the period. It was a clumsy, cruel fake. But we didn't just defend. We attacked. I called the reporter who had written the initial story, a sharp-eyed woman named Anya. With her hidden recorder running, I called Liam. Liam, I said, making my voice sound old and broken. The document about my mother, it's a lie. Are you sure, Aunt Agnes? He said, his voice dripping with condescension. The past is a murky place. You created this, didn't you? To force me to drop the charges. His laugh was a short, ugly sound. Let's just say I found some interesting family history. Now, are you going to call off that union watchdog and the police, or do I send this to the Herald? Your choice. Drop the charges, and this stays buried. I looked at Anya, who gave me a firm nod. We had him. His attempt to blackmail me with a falsified past was now an admission of extortion, recorded and irrefutable. The conclusion was swift and satisfying. With the new evidence, Liam and Chloe were convicted on multiple felony counts: identity theft, fraud, and extortion. My pension was restored with all back pay, plus a significant settlement for emotional distress. I am no longer just Agnes Petrova, the retired librarian. I am a fortress. I used a portion of the settlement money to fund a legal aid clinic for elder fraud, run by Mr. Abebe's union. We call it the Petrova Shield. They thought a frail old woman was an easy target. They forgot that a librarian knows how to find anything, especially the truth. To anyone out there being made to feel small and powerless by those you trusted, your records are your armor. Your story is your sword. Fight back. The quiet after the storm was a new country, and I had to learn its geography. My pension was restored, the back pay a staggering sum deposited with a quiet click into my account. The house was mine, truly mine again. The locks changed, the air cleansed of their lingering presence. But the victory felt hollow in the long, solitary evenings. I had won my life back, yet I found myself jumping at the mail slot's clatter, my heart seizing at every unexpected phone call. They had stolen more than my money. They had stolen my peace. Mr. Abebe checked in on me weekly. His calls were no longer about legal strategy, but about me. "How are you sleeping, Mrs. Petrova?" he would ask, his voice a steady anchor in my newfound anxiety. It was during one of these calls that I found my new purpose. "These people, Mr. Abebe," I said, my voice firmer than it had been in months. "They rely on silence. They rely on shame. They count on their victims being too proud or too frightened to fight back." "They do," he agreed. "The Petrova Shield," I said, the name coming to me fully formed. It shouldn't just be a fund. It should be a voice. And so, we built it. The legal aid clinic, funded by my settlement, became a crusade. I didn't just write a check. I became its public face. Anya, the reporter, did a follow-up story, this time with me seated proudly beside Mr. Abebe in the union's offices. I spoke not as a victim, but as a victor. I looked directly into the camera and said, "Your records are your armor. Do not let anyone take them from you." The response was overwhelming. Letters and emails poured in, not just from my city, but from across the state. Heartbreaking tales of forged deeds, coerced signatures, and stolen savings. I read every one. My librarian's mind, once used to cataloging rare books, now began cataloging patterns of predation. I saw the same names of dubious notaries, the same banks with lax verification processes, the same patterns of helpful family members. I started a ledger. Mr. Abebe would often find me in the clinic's small back office, surrounded by files, cross-referencing details. "This is not your job, Mrs. Petrova," he said one afternoon, a note of concern in his voice. "You should be resting." "This is my rest," I told him, and I meant it. The focus, the purpose, was healing me. Look. 3 separate cases, all mentioning a helpful nephew who used a notary public named Gerald Foy. I tapped the name in my ledger. This is not a coincidence. This is a business. Mr. Abebe took the ledger. His quiet demeanor hardened. "I will look into this." While he pursued Gerald Foy, I took on a different role, mentor. I started a small, informal support group that met in the Union Hall's meeting room. We were a quiet army, a retired machinist whose son had sold his tools, a former teacher whose granddaughter had added her name to the deed, a war widow whose caregiver had drained her accounts. We shared tea, biscuits, and strategies. We learned from Mr. Abebe about the power of a notarized revocation of power of attorney. We practiced saying no in firm, clear voices. I taught them how to organize their financial documents to create a paper trail that was a fortress in itself. We were no longer victims, we were archivists of our own lives, and we were learning to defend our archives. This new, public version of me did not go unnoticed. 6 months after the trial, a plain white envelope arrived, with no return address. Inside was a single, typewritten line on a sheet of cheap paper: "Stop digging, or we'll bury you with the rest." My hand trembled, but this time it was from anger, not fear. They thought a threat could silence me? They had no idea who they were dealing with. I was no longer just Agnes Petrova. I was the Petrova shield. I immediately called Mr. Abebe and Anya. We met at my kitchen table, the scene of the original crime, now our war room. "It's them," Anya said, her journalist's instincts humming. "It has to be. Liam and Chloe are out on bail awaiting appeal. They're desperate. Or it is Gerald Foy, the notary," Mr. Abebe added, his expression grim. "My inquiries into his business practices have been noticeable. This is an attempt to frighten us." "Then we have frightened them," I said, a cold smile touching my lips. "Good. We decided to use the threat." Anya wrote another article, this time about the campaign of intimidation being waged against elder fraud advocates. She didn't name me, using the pseudonym Grace, but the description was clear enough for those who knew. The public outrage grew. Donations to the Petrova Shield tripled. The final piece fell into place thanks to my support group. Mildred, the war widow, brought in a flyer she'd found at her senior center. It advertised a free seminar on elder financial safety, run by a group called Senior Shield Advocates. The speaker was listed as Gerald Foy. It was a trap, baited with fear and respectability. They were recruiting new victims right under our noses. We didn't call the police. Not yet. Anya and a camerawoman from her station, wearing hidden cameras, attended the seminar. Mr. Abebe and I watched the live feed from a van parked outside. We saw Gerald Foy, a sweaty, unctuous man, use the same phrases Liam had used on me. "Protect your assets from scammers. Let us help you simplify things." He handed out forms that looked suspiciously similar to the pension devolution form. As he concluded, Anya stood up. "Mr. Foy," she said, her microphone live. "My name is Anya Desai from Channel 7 News. We've been investigating your organization. Can you explain your business relationship with Liam and Chloe Peterson?" The camera captured his face, a perfect mask of panic and guilt. It was all the confirmation we needed. That broadcast led to a raft of new criminal investigations. Liam and Chloe had their bail revoked. Gerald Foy and several associates were arrested. The network began to unravel. The story has a final, satisfying postscript. Just last week, I was invited to the state capitol to testify in support of Agnes's Law, a bill that would mandate stricter identity verification for all financial transactions involving seniors and create a statewide registry of powers of attorney. I wore my best suit, the same one I'd worn to my retirement party from the library. I stood before the committee, my voice clear and strong. Honorable members, they thought a frail old woman was an easy target. They forgot that a librarian knows how to find anything, especially the truth. And the truth is, we will not be silent anymore. They applauded. Not out of pity, but out of respect. I still live in my house. I still have a slight limp. But I am no longer just Agnes Petrova, retired librarian. I am a general in a quiet war. And we are winning. The silence they relied on has been shattered, replaced by the powerful, collective sound of our voices, rising in defense of our dignity, our security, and our lives.